Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Good Game Podcast. This is the first time we've done this, so it might be a bit rough. First of all, warning, there may be explicit language, spoilers for Star Wars, and perhaps we might kill the magic of television for you somewhat. But other than that, my name is Linji Kong, and I'm the director of Good Game Spawn Point, as well as a producer across Good Game and Spawn Point. And let's just introduce my good colleagues for today's roundtable discussion.
My name is Ben, and I'm the series producer of Good Game.
My name's Rad, and I am production coordinator.
My name's Gus, but I also go by the name Goose as a presenter, and also do a little work behind the scenes here at Good Game as well.
Goose,
You're like
Goose
your
from the
radio
TV.
voice.
We haven't even started, and you're already...
Goose already has an affectation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm Peter. I look after Good Game Pocket, our daily show. It's good fun.
And I'm Sam, and I'm production coordinator for Good Game.
Star Wars, guys. So,
So Sam hasn't seen
I
it.
haven't seen it.
Sam hasn't seen it, so we're going to try and keep it spoiler free, and I'm sure a lot of other people won't get to see it until the week after. We may do a dissection of it maybe in January. Ben nods.
Yeah,
Pete
perfect.
nods.
Sounds good.
So, guys, reactions. Did you like it? Did you not like it?
I liked it a lot. It felt like Star Wars. It was fun. What more do you want? And
That's a pretty good summary.
now Gus is going to say something really negative because
No.
he's a negative Nancy,
No,
and he
actually-
always has to like pick something apart.
I was actually going to wait for Ben to jump in on this one because as Rad jumps in with the fan response, I want to hear the
Sure.
the diehard critical cynical response from Ben.
No, obviously, it was a lot of fun, and I think you need to put that out there when you're starting to talk about Star Wars. It was joyous, it was delightful, it was a lot of fun, but it is not perfect. It is not a perfect film, and personally, I think who wore it better, who wore JJ better, Star Wars or Star Trek, and I think Star Trek has benefited more from JJ's vision than what Star Wars has.
But I feel like Star Wars also had more to lose in this rendition because the prequels
yeah, of
were
course.
so bad. And
I mean, and that was part of, Disney's process. I think they wanted to prove, look, this is not going to be the prequels. This is going to be the Star Wars we all know and love. So here it is.
Yeah.
But just from a personal point of view, I just felt like JJ's vision lent itself better to the Star Trek universe than what it did to the Star Wars universe.
Yep.
Did JJ blow his load on Star Trek?
I mean, look, quite possibly. I mean, how many different ways can you show spaceships? You know what I mean? Like,
But you could say that about anything. Like how many?
Yeah, I
different
know,
ways
but I
do
mean, I think that JJ is totally justified to go and work on Star Wars. I think that's a great thing, but I am personally now looking forward to these new directors that we're going to get.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think you'd agree with that, Pete.
I do. I think JJ was the right choice for this film because they needed to remake Episode 4 effectively. It needed to have fan service. It needed to be so many things. And it was a lot of things, and it was probably too many things.
Yeah.
And
Too
it
many
had
cooks,
too
you
much
could
in
say.
it. It had too much old and too much new combining, and it made for a little bit of a mess, and it made everything move really quickly. I would have liked
Yeah.
it to be a little bit slower in its pacing, just so that we could kind of stop and dwell on the fact that we're back in Star Wars. The first 45 minutes was just, I would say, close to perfect, that first 45 minutes.
Yeah, there were many times I think the audience held its breath, and I would have liked to have actually just stopped for a minute.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's it also. I agree with the beginning of the film really has that slow setup that puts you back in the universe. But I think often in these kind of movies, what happens is they literally travel through a lot of locations very quickly and don't let you, the audience, settle. And I feel like the second half had a bit of a problem with sort of its structuring and its pacing. And not only did decisions were made quickly, but also in terms of you just sometimes want to find your feet. And you just want to feel like this is home base, here's where we go from here. And the film does pick up a lot of momentum and almost, I think, to its detriment, I'd say, in the second half. But again, you just got to give it credit for being
I don't think
joyous.
we necessarily needed a home base. Like they kind of establish it, but it's more. I think it's more that every scene you're not sure where it's taking place in conjunction with the other scenes that are happening around it. Like
Yeah.
I got a really good sense of the structure of the Death Star in Episode 4. Like I could kind of visualize how it was built and why there were areas that weren't manned.
Do you know what? I had this exact thought last night, but then I thought, is that not just the benefit of having known that film for so long and seeing different interpretations, seeing Family Guy parodies, seeing everything about it explored to the point that I've mapped it out more in my brain, and I haven't had as much time to do that with this latest film.
Maybe, but I don't think so, because you see the Millennium Falcon enter the Death Star.
Yeah.
And you know where they are in relation to that hangar, because it all connects back to that.
Yeah.
And you know that Obi-Wan has kind of like made his own path off to kind of power down the tractor beam. That one's for free, Lynn.
Thank you, Peter. We don't have to pay now.
And you can see where it's all kind of connecting. And like, why would there be people in that generator room? There wouldn't be. There's just the two kind of patrolling guards.
I want to ask specifics of what you mean.
Yeah.
But we
it's
can't.
getting hard to-
Yeah, because
We have to leave this till
Yeah.
January,
Yeah.
guys. Like, we
Sorry,
can't go too much
Sam.
into it.
No, I'm sorry.
But Lynn, we should throw it back. Like, what was your summary of it as well?
I was just relieved, honestly.
Yeah.
that it was
That's right.
good.
Yeah.
And I came out of it, wanting to see the second film, and I
Yeah.
can't believe that we have to wait 2 years until the second film.
2 years.
Is it 2 years? It's
It
not
is
1.
2
Yeah,
years.
so the
Next
next
year's
one
Rogue
is
One.
going to be Rogue One, which is the sort of the throwback to episode
It's
4.
finding
So
the plans for
do
the original
this
Death
to
Star.
me.
Very
It's going to be
excited
it's a
about
cool
that.
concept. I think.
It's like the
Yeah.
first time where I've actually felt, watching a film, knowing that it's part of a trilogy and going, oh, I've got to wait 2 years
Yeah,
of
that's
my
exactly
life
right.
to
Yeah,
see the
that's
next
true.
chapter. That's insane. And the other feeling I had coming out of it was I wanted JJ to take on Indiana Jones, because I think
wow.
he did such a
That's
good
big
job
call, Lynn.
of aping George Lucas, and kind of making this film like A New Hope, that I wouldn't mind if he just kind of retconned Indiana Jones 4 and made the next indie film
You don't think Spielberg can do it minus
after
George?
Indie 4, Ben?
I don't feel that. I felt like George asked Spielberg to do some of the prequel films, and Spielberg was like, "Look, mate, that's too much responsibility. I don't want to take that on. But let's do an indie." And he almost did Indie 4 as a favour to George.
But see, I think at this point in time, JJ's better at being Spielberg than Spielberg, is.
Spielberg.
Like Spielberg has
Sure.
kind of lost that Spielberg magic now.
Can I? The one thing I wanted to add, which has been the biggest relief for me, which is that universally people walking out of this film, and again, spoiler free, is that the casting is the thing that just
Yeah, it's
blew
amazing.
everyone
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
That
Spot
all the
on.
actors that were picked for these roles and the way they portrayed them has been just mind blowing. And that's something
Yeah.
we're not used to. I think when we're coming out of these big blockbusters recently, we often all come out being unanimous that, the effects were really cool, or the story actually made a little bit of sense. But very rarely do we come out and go, that cast just absolutely acted the crap out of it. And
And I think one of every director has their strengths, and I think one of JJ's biggest strengths is his casting. Like I look back on the films that he has worked on, and I think he did a great job in the casting of Super 8. As a big Trek fan, I love the new Star Trek cast, and every one of them. There's not one bad casting choice in there from my point of view.
I think people ask us a lot, what is it like working in the Good Game office? And what is
It's
it
nothing like making Star Wars.
It is. It could be. We don't know. We haven't been on the
that's
set
true.
of
We
Star
haven't-
Wars.
yeah.
But I went to the morning screening yesterday for Star Wars, and John Emerson, our intrepid editor for Good
John,
Game
ladies and
Pocket,
gentlemen.
he actually went to the morning session as well, and we both came into the office yesterday. And because no one else in the office had seen the film, we had to retreat into the Pocket studio to debrief. So basically, I look into John's eyes, and we both burst into tears. Like, grown adults crying over Star Wars.
I don't know if you've ever seen John as well. Like,
Yeah, John
this
is a big
this
dude,
is
man, like-
120 kilo, like the manliest man out.
Yeah.
And to see him cry.
and he's pretty.
We were both weeping, and we were both so emotional. I had to steal a box of tissues off Sammy's desk because there are no tissues in the Pocket studio.
I knew
By the
they
way,
cried
Peter,
because they stopped.
What?
You-
We don't need tissues.
you don't
we're
cry.
All, we're
you
all
don't cry?
healthy young people.
They let their fluids run free.
But anyway, I thought it was just kind of such a sweet moment and such a personification of what it's like to work in the Good Game office, that we can all come into work and cry about Star
and weep
Wars.
on each other.
That's true.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We can come into work. Like, where else in the world, in Australia, can you come into the office and cry over Star Wars with your colleagues?
That's true.
Nowhere else. All right, we're going to move on.
Do we have to? Can we just keep talking about Star Wars?
No.
No, because Sam hasn't seen it, and we can talk more about it once he's seen it.
I'm going to give the
And
audience a
we'll come
hook.
back.
Yeah.
Come back in
Exactly.
January, guys.
Come
We'll
back in
have a full
January.
Debrief.
Peter, Ben, and I, and perhaps Gus. I don't know yet.
Not invited.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't
I'm behaving so far, I thought.
We will dissect the film frame by frame.
Yeah, I really
We will
want to
spend
talk to you
like
about this
5
theory
hours on
about
it.
JJ doing indie because I'm thinking a lot about indie.
I feel like everyone's just going to give him the franchises, right? They're going to be like, JJ, you know what? You can reboot every franchise.
Everything,
You can be the Martin Campbell
Yes,
of
that's
the
true. Of the Lucasfilm,
superhero
yeah,
kind of not
family.
superhero, sorry, the space opera.
And also, I should say, I'm looking forward to more reviews that are spoiler heavy because one of the weirdest things about coming out of this
That's
film was
true.
that I wanted to have this discussion where I talked to people about specifics in the film. And you go on the internet and you jump on YouTube and everything is spoiler free
Yeah.
to try and get as many clicks and hits as possible. So it's pretty hard to find the conversational space to talk
Well,
about everything
it's
that
a Star
happens.
Wars code, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which
And,
look,
like,
everyone has this the
we're
own
right.
meta.
We're recording this like 36 hours after the film has come out, right? Like,
Yeah.
give us some time.
True.
Like,
That's true.
When you think about that, that's not a very long time.
No, at the same
People,
time,
like
I'm,
people across the planet still haven't seen it.
I'm saying props as well to the internet for being this disciplined about something. I know there are spoilers out there, but I think the majority of things, YouTube, Imager, Reddit, have all been very active to try and keep spoilers.
Not a lot is sacred, but I feel like Star Wars is sacred.
which is sort of wonderful to see.
on the internet, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah, you would have the whole, the wrath of the internet upon
that
you.
is true.
If
That's
you
true.
if you decide to reveal spoilers.
All
This
right.
is no Snape killed Dumbledore.
Anyway, no more Star Wars. But I'm keeping on the film theme. What is your favorite film of the year?
I mean, I definitely have one.
Yeah,
It's
go.
Creed. It's still Creed. Number one, for sure.
Tell us why, Peter.
It has the narrative arc of the original Rocky film. It's a nice play on that arc. It has all the emotional beats that first film had, and it has the modern boxing to boot. It has this very visceral, in your face, quite literally, these sequences that are just beautifully shot, and it's from. I went in. I dove into Michael B. Jordan and Ryan. What's his name?
Coogler? I think?
Coogler.
Yeah.
Coogler. I jumped in and was just watching interviews with them on the internet after I watched the film and just like diving into why they thought they would make this film and stuff. And it's just, they did it for all the right reasons. They had this beautiful script. They executed it perfectly. I love it. I don't want to say any more about it. I'm more like conscious about spoiling that film than I am Star Wars.
Do you know, I have a feeling Ryan Coogler is going to be offered a Star Wars film.
I think
he's there.
that would be, yeah.
Can I ask what's he done beforehand?
They are talking to him about Marvel's Black Panther film.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
well,
think he's on
either a
for that.
Marvel film or a Star
Yeah, I
Wars
think
film.
he's
Like
on for that.
he is
Yeah.
going big
Yeah.
time.
What's he done before Creed? If you don't
He
mind
did
asking?
short films.
Right.
Really?
Working out of a he was working with ex-convicts and stuff like that, kind of rehabilitation and just like a social worker effectively, and was making short films on the side.
Wow.
And then ended up making a film called Fruitvale about the murder of a young black male in the States who was shot by a cop on New Year's Day in
I think it was like
2000
2000 and something.
2000
Yeah.
3? I can't remember.
Okay, right.
2009.
But Creed
It's quite
is
recent.
his first major outing, really.
So he went from that to Creed.
wow.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this little Fruitvale was a full length feature, but it was independently made and quite cheap, but beautifully done. And yeah, straight into Creed.
Well,
and now
he's
Marvel.
following the path of directors these days,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah,
you
that's
make
right,
an indie
yeah.
feature, you hit Sundance, and then someone gives you Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Someone
I know,
says, "Do you want to
wouldn't
make a
it both?
Marvel film?"
Yeah.
We'll look through and find you a character.
It's failed on multiple occasions, right? Like it
Sure,
failed
we've
with
got one.
Jurassic Park,
Yeah,
and it failed.
I know a
with
lot of people
Godzilla.
disagree with
A
you,
lot of-
Peter.
yeah.
Jurassic
but
World.
I agree with you.
The
So
new
it's
Jurassic
okay.
World's a joke. Come at me.
This is where we now
Whatever
throw
you
to
want,
Sam
internet.
for his favorite film, and he's like, "Jurassic World."
No, it's not.
Sam, what's your favorite?
Sam,
film?
favorite film?
I have two I want to mention. The first one is Mad Max.
Yep.
Because it was over the top mental awesomeness. And the second one was It Follows, which was an indie film which I thought portrayed the Thing really well in that movie. So yeah, those are my two.
I've heard really good things about that, and I've still
It's
got it
excellent.
ready to
And
watch.
As
good,
a
yeah.
fan of 80s horror myself, yeah, it's clever in the way that it harkens back to that mood and tone, but it also offers something new and fresh. So
Yeah,
I'm totally on
totally.
board with you there.
Yeah, I
Sammy.
love that one.
Yeah, good call.
Ben,
Well, I'm going to agree with Sam. I'm going to put Mad Max up there for many reasons. First of all, its world building I just think is excellent. But also, I found it really refreshing. I know that there weren't many Aussies in the lead roles, but it was refreshing to hear the Australian accent in some of the extras. It was refreshing to hear some Australian slang in there, and it was just great. Fang it. And it was just great to see George Miller's vision completely unbound. We've only seen it really, I would say, twice before in the Mad Max universe, which was obviously in the first one, but that was hampered by low budget. The second one, he had a little bit more money, but, on the scale of things, not a lot. The third one, it had its issues. He had a partner close to him die. He wasn't in the right place to make that film. And so this is sort of like, all right, well, this is it, completely unbound. And it was just surprising. I didn't expect any of it. And people say to me, I would have liked a bit more story. I think there is story there. And I think it's in the vehicles. It's in the costume design. It's in the language. It's in the makeup.
You're right. The world building in that film was superb. And it's something that we often see. A film gets made with limited sort of expanded universe. And it gets a following that then that universe is built upon due to the demand for it. Whereas here, you were watching it and things were kind of flying over your head and you were sort of like, I'm going to go back and chase it up later. I'm listening for things that you can tell they've built into this world for that very reason. Not every point has to stick, but things are there for you to pick up on if you choose to or not, and to go back and rewatch.
Exactly. And I think one of the best things about it is, as a piece of film, it really does its job in the way that I really think, I haven't tried it yet, but watching it, I think you could turn down the sound and you would pick up the story.
So your favourite film, Rad?
Oh, my favourite film of this year?
Of this year, yes.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it was a great one. I really, really did love Mad Max. I really did love Star Wars, but I think that maybe I'm also just coming down off the hype of it. What else came out this year? I don't even know.
Can I jump in there?
Yeah.
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World. Sam.
No.
I agree with you about Star Wars. It's just too soon to talk about that. And for me, there was a lot of expectation with Star Wars. There was a heap of expectation with Mad Max, and I'm so glad both of them lived up to it adequately. But the one for me that came out of left field was Kingsman.
That's true.
That was
like February or something.
Yeah, and I mean, next to Star Wars, I haven't bounced up and down in a seat in a cinema like that out of just sheer. I can't. I have to be. I mean, Pete was actually. We saw it, and I'm sure I was quite irritating the way I couldn't stop moving in my seat out of just surprise and a mix of surprise and a mix of just. Yeah, the entertainment that came from that film. That
was just super ballsy from that opening as well, wasn't it? Just like Dire Straits, like I don't think I've heard cinema speakers louder than that before. It was just and he's like, yes,
for those and it was also just so much fun as well. Like it was unapologetically fun, and that was great. I loved how it was unexpected in what it did as well. Like, I'm gonna spoil it if you haven't seen the film. But just kind of like that end scene where all the heads explode and it's just to the orchestral music. It's just silly and it's fun and it's great action.
I feel like Matthew Vaughn went into it thinking, you know what, I'm going to make my Bond film. And I'm going to do everything that Bond films at the moment can't do. That I want to do.
It was a modern Austin Powers almost. You know? Like it was a parody Bond film, but just like with a whole lot of class.
Yes. Class and, crappy sexual jokes as well.
That would, I mean, when we're talking about our favourite film, I think that's a hard label to put on it, but it was definitely the thing that just, really was unexpected and I left incredibly entertained. I will agree, there was some pretty crass stuff in terms of some of the sex jokes and things, but...
Which got cut out of the American versions.
It got cut out of the DVD release, apparently.
I love it though, man. That was great.
You love the butt shot?
Yeah.
You love the butt shot at the end?
Yeah, good on him. Good on him.
Pete's I'm totally.
It was so inappropriate, but it was shocking, and that's what the film wanted to be. I love it.
You're right. There were at least 3 or 4 other moments where you think they're not gonna. Oh, they
it's like
are.
They are.
That's true.
You don't frown upon. I mean, you do a lot. Matt Stone and Trey Parker for doing what they do because they're just they're mental, and it's fun watching. Just like George Miller, just let him loose. Yeah. It's like, I know this isn't to the same extent, but it was just like, we want to be crass, we're just going for it. I know, unashamed.
The church fight was my favourite fight scene of the year.
Yeah,
I mean, it was beautiful.
When you're in that moment, it's
best use of Freebird in a fight scene with a British actor I've seen this year, I'd say.
Absolutely.
So that would be mine.
That's a very specific category.
Thank you, Rad.
Rad, have you thought about what your favourite is?
I think she hijacked mine, so you can have that.
I wouldn't say that Kingsman was my favourite.
Okay, Rad has a lot of favorites this year.
Well, the thing is, I think I had a lot of things that I really liked, but I wouldn't say that there was one that I was like, absolutely, I totally loved that.
I think it's actually
more than
been
the rest.
quite a strong year for films.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you
Like
forget,
really solid
don't
films.
you?
Like The
Yeah.
Martian was solid. Like
Yeah.
Kingsman was solid.
You forget
like,
that 50 Shades was this year as well.
was 50. I thought that was
It
last
may have
year.
been last year.
I feel like
Sicario.
yeah, I
I
haven't
haven't
seen
seen that. I
Sicario.
love Emma
but-
It's really good.
Yeah.
I think I want to revisit Spectre. I had
I was
fun.
gonna say, like, do we just take a quick moment that in the year that there's been Bond, directed by Sam Mendes, we haven't said that
See,
it's
but
our film of the
I
year.
want to dedicate like
an entire
an entire
podcast to
podcast
Bond.
to that
Okay,
game, and
right.
and it'll just be you and me talking
Yeah,
about
and
Bond.
we'll come back for that.
We should say that in the Good Game office, both Lynn and Ben are the diehard Bond fans. That
If we start talking about
And,
Bond, like it would
Gus
be
is
2
the
weeks.
Bond hard, die hard fan.
My favorite is actually Mad Max. I have to
Right.
put my hat in that box. I just think in terms of innovation, cinema experience, it just blew my socks off.
Charlie's Theron with a shaved head. That's all you need. That's all you need in a
Pretty
film.
much, and you know everyone else in that film. I just
Yeah.
think
It
it
was very
amazing.
impressive. for
And
sure.
missing an arm was such a great touch, but at the same time, can you imagine saying you're going to not have an arm for this film and just being like, oh, that's just going to add so much more work.
But I think
like,
as an actor, like you would relish that opportunity. You're like, okay, well, how? Because you know, how do you get there physically and as well mentally as an actor?
Yeah.
And if you have something that you can work with, that's definitely it's going to add to your
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
as a
characterization.
storytelling, now I want to know what happened to the arm.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
true.
Yeah, again, it was part of that world building that
Yeah.
didn't need to be explained. It was
Yeah.
just like, it just added another layer of depth.
Yeah.
And I love the way there's a video documentary on Mad Max just about how everything's center frame. Just
Yeah.
because he's there's a cut every like 27 frames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you just get a second of view time in before it's onto something else.
And
so just bang, 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 center frame every time.
It's funny, like I watched that with Star Wars as well.
Yeah.
I was looking at the action, and you were pinging left and right because things were moving all over the place.
Yeah.
And then I remember when we all went to see Mad Max, we were lucky enough to go to the premiere. We all came out and we just, were gushing. And I think because we were on that roller coaster, because it was so focused, wasn't it? It was just 100% right. We know exactly where they need to go, what they need to do, and what's happening from second to second. And that just helps you.
And that center framing that you did mention, you do see it and then you watch it be pulled apart and you think, why do we not do this in every film?
Yeah.
Like the idea that the human eye has to keep track of what's happening. And when you break it down, the idea being that George Miller kept every scene change or shot change with the same point of focus, it just makes your brain can comprehend it in such a better way compared to say, like, I don't know, Peter Jackson doing The Hobbit or something.
Yeah, your
Don't
Michael,
talk to me about those films.
your Michael Bay epic. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
All right, I just want to move on quickly.
Yeah.
What's your favorite television show
Chef's
of the
Table.
year? Okay, thanks, Rad.
If you haven't seen it, get Netflix and watch it.
The
that was
great
2015,
thing
right?
about, I wouldn't say it's my favourite, but I just want to add to it. The great thing about Chef's Table and the great thing about really good TV shows is to different people, they're different things.
Yeah.
And I have a different conversation every time I talk to somebody about Chef's Table. For some people, it is about food. For some people, it's about entrepreneurship. For some people, it's about chasing your dreams. For some people, it's a travel log,
Yeah.
And I love that it's different things to different audiences.
Absolutely. And it's beautifully shot.
Yeah.
And who doesn't love food? It's delicious.
Yep.
And it takes you around the world, but it also has an episode based in Australia, based in Melbourne, which is amazing. And it's just great. It made me think differently about how a show is made. And I'm not as far on the technical side of the production and directing like you guys are, but I could still appreciate that I would watch it and look at it and then just think differently about how things should be put together or shot. And that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a great series.
I'm going to go Show Me a Hero. Talking about Oscar Isaacs before in Star Wars. It was a HBO show, 6 episodes, which was about the allocation of low-income housing in Yonkers in the 80s. It sounds like
Captivating, Ben.
Was that a
Captivating.
documentary?
The Snowfest button,
Absolutely.
Lynn.
So it was a drama.
Okay.
And it was
Thanks, mate.
it was one of the best things this year. Every episode
Me a
was
Hero, was
fantastic.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm rubbish with TV, and I'll have to get a nod from Lynn if this was this year, because I have trouble getting into the really dramatic stuff. But was Kimmy Schmidt this year?
Kimmy
Yes.
Schmidt was this year.
That was
I
something
looked
that
at the
I-
list last night, and yes, it was this year.
You have an unfair advantage.
Why?
You've
You,
looked at
you, wrote
lists.
you wrote the question.
You wrote lists.
It's because I wrote the rundown.
Yeah.
for
Don't
this
research
podcast, so-
it. You know how
know,
things
right?
work on Good Game. Don't research anything.
That's true.
We're all just like,
Make it up as you go.
But yeah, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt was a show that I think you recommended, and I thought, how can that be interesting? And I actually never watched the US Office, which is what she's worked on before. I can't remember the actress's name. I have to help me with that. I'm rubbish with names.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if she worked on that, but I know like
She's in
Tina
it.
Fey
in it,
wrote it, and it was
Yeah.
very much it was a bit like 30 Rock. So
Yeah.
if you were a fan of 30 Rock,
Which I'm not. But
Really?
it was one of those shows that I just found was quite delightful, and it was a very refreshing thing to watch. It had a very positive outlook, but it had a very a strange sense of humor. It was wacky. It was off the wall, but it was still had some heart, and it was only what, sort of 8 episodes, 6 or 8 episodes or
it
something?
was like 10,
Okay.
12, but
It
they
was-
were half-hour episodes. You know. you
Yeah,
burn
and I
through
just
them.
burnt through that, and I'm just like, I instantly wanted to watch more of it. It was just I find TV is something I like to watch to make myself happy, and I don't watch The Nick or all these shows that make people
Sure, yeah.
depressed, and they sit around going, oh. So I found that as my cleanser at the end of the day.
And it brought us Pinot Noir, which is an important
Yes.
part of my life now. So.
It is Pinot Noir. Okay, Peter and Sam.
I watched a lot of TV this year, and like it's so hard just picking one. I mean, Rick and Morty's second season was
Yes.
strong again, but it wasn't as strong as the first.
Yeah.
I guess just like the most recent thing I've been watching and watched the finale of was the second season of Fargo, and that was really strong again. Just really like they just really commit to a tone, and the cast was great this season as well. That's probably the thing I'm feeling the best about at this point in time. If you asked me a month ago, it would have been something else, and if you asked me a month from now, it would be something else. But well, a month from now will be 2016.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you work on Pocket. I mean, you just work on a daily schedule. You can't remember anything that happened
No.
before.
I don't
you know.
remember yesterday's episode. What am I doing?
Nick played a game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good thing is he never needed to change the synopsis in the green guide.
Yeah.
Nick plays a
Nick
game.
Boy plays a game.
And has a strong opinion about it.
Exactly. That's pretty much it for 280
220
episodes.
this year.
220.
250 next year.
Well done.
50. Oh.
Don't remind me.
Yeah.
Samuel.
More vodka, please.
I didn't watch a lot of TV this year. The one show I did get sucked into was Narcos.
Yes, Narcos.
I found that really interesting, the way how it spliced official police footage throughout the episode, and also the perspective it took from both the detectives and the narcos themselves. I really enjoyed that series.
Wait, so are the narcos people? What?
There were people who were into the narcotics business.
They were the narcotic pushers.
What do you call?
Okay.
Because you call
I
someone
haven't
who
seen
rats
it.
on things a narc, right?
Yeah.
I wonder
'Cause
if they're related.
That stands for narcotics police officer. A
It does
narc.
not.
A narc, yeah. No? Yes, it does.
I don't know.
A narc. Yeah.
I'm just confused now.
Let's move
Lynn,
on.
what's yours?
Mine is the second season of Transparent. None of you guys have seen it yet,
No.
but
I saw
it
the
is
first
I haven't
season
seen
and
the
I
first
loved
season.
it.
amazing. It is like when you watch it, you cannot believe what they've done with the medium of television. Like, is it still even television anymore? Like, is stuff
There's a
on Amazon
question.
Yeah,
still on
better
television?
question.
I mean, that's another whole podcast in
Yeah.
itself. But
Yeah.
yes, Transparent season 2. And not because it's like the most recent television show I watched, but I think it is absolutely amazing.
And
Like,
I also just love any piece of media that explores diversity.
Yeah,
That to
that's
me
true.
is just
That's
always
true. Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
Sense8, Lynn?
Okay, my 2 guilty pleasures of this year were Sense8 and the 3rd season of Hannibal. And
Oh, yeah.
both
Nice.
those, I mean, I kind of really connected with both of them on a purely fandom level. Like, I don't think they were like the
My
greatest thing
pure
ever made.
fandom is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
And nobody else other than Nick Boy, I think, in the office watches it.
Yeah.
But I agree.
Because it's rubbish.
Okay, here's the thing. I agree that like the first couple of eps were quite bad, and I don't know why I continued watching it. I watched like the first ep, then I didn't watch it for weeks, and then I think one of the like Captain America or something was coming out, and I went back to it and I watched it, and it just it gets cooler, it gets Marvel, and if you don't like Marvel Cinematic Universe, you're not going to enjoy it. That's fine, but I do like Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just fun, and I love that it increasingly became higher stakes and it increasingly is weaving into the films. And it's exciting to see. It's exciting to see them make these blockbuster films that then get referenced in what is considered, you know, quite a little TV show.
Is it a bit hard to swallow though after the whole Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Netflix, Marvel universe? I mean,
It's very different. It's much more
Yeah.
lighthearted. Daredevil was great as
yeah,
well,
that was my
actually.
guilty pleasure
Yeah.
of the year, I guess. Yeah,
Daredevil was great, but that's, you know, supposed to be gritty and dark. And whereas Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has kind of high stakes moments and it has quote unquote epic bits, but
Right.
it's not supposed to be dark. It is supposed to be the lighter side of Marvel.
Yeah, I'm
and-
just so fatigued by that whole
It's-
thing, man.
Yeah.
But-
Marvel
Again, that's
stuff.
another podcast.
Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah, okay, moving on.
Oh,
Okay.
Fresh off the boat, people should watch that as well. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's still
that
really
was a
good.
great
And the
show.
most recent season of South Park. I know not a lot of people in the office watch it, but I feel that is a show that will forever live with its stigma of being, a silly slapstick fart show, but it's actually really cleverly written.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's
And
ever. There's no
It's accurate.
misconception.
The latest
how
season of
clever the
that,
writing is in
just
that show.
as an experiment of a whole season with one overarching story, I think watch that. That is also amazing. Moving on.
We're going to move on to Good Game now.
Sounds
Like
good.
30
gonna
minutes
say,
in.
I was looking at the time.
But this is great because it's if any our listeners probably want to hear
wanna
us
bury
talk
the
about Good
dirt?
Game, but
Yeah.
we have to get our nerdism
out of the way. That's right.
before we
That's
actually
true.
start a Good
Yeah.
Game. So the biggest thing, we've got a lot of questions from people on Facebook and Twitter
Yeah.
over the last day and a half.
Yep.
Game of the year. Did we cop out? Ben.
Okay, so look,
Well.
the thought in the office, and we're very much a flat level structure, but we do have hierarchy here in the Good Game office, and it was a decision by someone, and once we started talking about it, it did sort of make more and more sense. I'm of the belief if you're going to pick something, then pick something, but yeah, there was the argument that how do you compare something like Rocket League to something like The Witcher 3? But then there is the other flip side of the argument. It's like, well, how do you compare, one film to another, or how do you compare one TV show to another? You have to look at many factors and drill it down to one particular element. So yeah, that's a very diplomatic way of talking, isn't it, Lynn?
So coming from someone who didn't have much to do with the awards component
Yeah.
of the last episode, when I first heard that we weren't going to pick a winner, I was a bit worried. I was like, oh man, our audience is going to hate us, right,
Yeah.
for not picking a winner. But after watching the episode, I was like, you know what? I didn't mind it because it felt clearly to me, at least, that Hex loved Witcher 3
Absolutely,
and Barjo
yeah.
loved Fallout 4.
Fallout 4, yeah,
And that
that's
was
true.
it was just between the two.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have the two main hosts of the show picking one game, then it's pretty much a tie, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how I approched it. I mean,
Yeah, and
what
look,
about-
we worked
That was my
really.
interpretation as
Barjo Hex and I worked really hard in the studio to sort of get that tone across. I think I'm hoping that next year we're able to clearly identify it is Uncharted 4, it is the new Mirror's Edge, it is whatever it is. I hope we get to that point. But yeah, look, it was genuinely a really tough year this year.
I think that selling it was helped along by the fact that Sam had no pants on.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, that was great.
So,
That was fantastic.
I think it was just a big
it was
distraction.
compelling television.
I hadn't seen
The
any
real
of that
winner this
episode.
year was, the audience forgetting to see Sam in a lab
Sam's
coat with no
pants.
pants.
Yeah, yeah. I just like that we're dressing up Sam in a range of scenarios, like sexy spaceman,
Yep.
sexy lab assistant.
What's going to be next?
Oh, dude, I've
Can't
got
wait.
a whole arc.
just
written
keep
for
working
you.
on your leg days,
Yeah,
Sam, right?
yeah.
Just,
I
just
won't
keep
skip
working
leg
on
days.
He's mine next year. You know that, right?
We should probably
Oh god.
we should probably add that the whole idea behind the game of the year, at least since we've all worked here, has been it's a very democratic decision.
Yeah, it
it
actually
is something
is,
that
yeah.
Barjo and Hex weigh in very strongly
Yeah.
on that decision, but it is something that gets discussed for a number of weeks around the lunch table with every member of the Good Game office. And of course, we're never going to reach a complete unanimous decision
No,
because
that's
everyone's
true.
going to have different opinions. But this year, out of every year that we've worked here, was the fiercest of the lunch table debates, and I think that's what led to that decision being made.
That's
and
true,
of course,
Yeah.
I think Barjo and Hex were there on Camp Witcher 3 and Camp
Yeah,
Fallout.
yeah, that's right.
And they had people on both sides
Yeah,
fighting for
championing.
them.
That's
Basically,
true,
like
yeah.
blood was almost about to be
Yeah.
spilled on
Yeah, it did,
occasions
yeah.
around the
And I
lunch
think
table.
it's funny to see that their year in review moments are where they really champion what they loved, and we saw
Yeah.
that they loved each of those games. But the game of the year for the Good Game one really has to be unanimous in the office, and that was the issue.
It was.
We
I mean,
just-
it wasn't quite split right down the middle because there are
No.
other people left to field, but between those two games, there was it just couldn't be. They couldn't be separated
Yeah, so I think
among the 20 of us or whatever, however many
Yeah,
there
yeah,
are. So.
yeah, it's true.
So of course, it's not that either of them to blame. It's
No.
the whole office to
Yeah,
blame.
that's
but at
right,
the same
yeah,
time,
yeah.
I blame Ben.
Blame me.
But the next part of the question is the usual GG awards. What happened to them?
I think we just felt like we wanted to do something a little bit different. I think it kind of was all almost reverse engineered from the fact that, okay, we're not going to give one particular game. There are games that are completely worthy of, best visual output, something like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture or the new Tomb Raider. And so we wanted to sort of highlight those for their real big strengths. We wanted to highlight, Metal Gear Solid for its great gameplay. And I think we just sort of reverse engineered it a little bit, as I said, from that particular point of view. So that's why we did. And we just wanted to have a little bit more of a conversation with our audience as well. Just saying, oh, it's this game, it's this game, it's this game. It's like, well, it could be any of these games. Let's open up the social media and let's have a chat about it.
So basically, audience, keep sending in your
please do, guys.
Well, your picks for the awards. Blooper reel? Are we ever going to see that?
We'll definitely do a blooper reel. Look, it just came down to time. In the final weeks of Good Game this year, we were actually going to have a week off, and it's because ABC was doing Too Sexy, a week looking at sex and porn. And we were told by the grown-ups here, as we call them, oh, look, you guys don't have to do a show there for that week. And I piped up and said, wait a minute, we should do a whole special on how sex is depicted in games, and Gus can do a bit, and Hingers can do a bit, and Nick Boy can do a bit. Be lots of fun and all the rest of it. And just excuse
we're in
the,
late. Everyone's cleaning up.
Everyone's cleaning up. We're literally being kicked out of the office. So we decided to do a week looking at sex and relationships in video games, how it's depicted, and that completely changed our production schedule.
I think it was the right decision because it didn't make sense for us to go off air for an entire week and then come back with our last episode of the year.
Yeah,
with the
I kind of felt
special.
like that too.
That to me didn't make sense in terms of a broadcast schedule.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did.
Yeah, even though it almost killed us, I'm glad that we did it because
I'm sorry,
it's something
guys.
different. Well, you know
But
what?
it was fun.
It was fun. And like I remember the discussion around the table, and I was also like, we should just do it. Just do it because why not? It's something different, and what's the point of continuing to do the same thing?
And I kind of feel like, and this is going to sound kind of weird, but there are not many television media outlets for gaming in not just Australia but in the world. And I feel like we have a responsibility to every so often talk about gaming in a little bit more of a mature way or something different. So
absolutely.
Yeah, anytime we get a chance to do like that, I'm very proud of it. And I've got to say, guys, our mental health special we did some time ago, how war is depicted in games and how sex is depicted in games, they are three of the best episodes I think we've ever put together.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, totally. I would like to point out that I was in full support of the sex thing from the start as well, knowing full well that I would have nothing to do with it come production time. And I'll be in my office.
Goodbye.
Well, I think it does raise another thing, which you donated your host from Pocket.
Yes,
so we did have Nick Boy on, and we had Hingers on as well.
Yeah.
And I think one of the great things about the end of this year, especially, is with a special like that, and even with the Christmas special, is that we have grown as a bit of a Good Game family this year. That we now have, Nick Boy and Hingers as well, and it's quite lovely. I think I hope people who watch the show agree to see a bit of an entourage now representing Good Game as a family. And those specials are a fun time to get us all involved. So hopefully we do more of them.
And it's worth it, Rad, for your sister's comment.
What did she say? I don't remember.
She said she watched the show and she said to you, do you remember?
Yeah, I think I do. Was it the one where she said, I like how you made it look like a sex lounge?
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
So you're welcome. You're welcome.
Good.
I think I said yes to the special, and then I went to China for a week.
Yeah, you're like, let's do it. Bye.
Yeah, I just went goodbye. But that being said, we had to shoot the last two episodes, Good Game Spawn Point, back to back on a Thursday and a Friday. And that, I think, killed you more, Rad.
Yes.
Sorry,
that
guys.
did almost kill me, but thankfully it didn't. Is
thankfully you're still here.
He's still here.
Thankfully it didn't.
So I think that's a long way of saying the reason why there isn't a blooper reel is because all of our editors, Max, Sam, Rowan, John, they were just all really up against the wall to get the sex special out. Steve Rogan, thanks, Steve Rogan, and a few other people. So we were,
Nothing works under the pump.
Yeah.
No. Sorry.
So we basically
hard up
ran out of
against
time.
it.
You were
guys.
writing them hard, weren't you?
That was another thing. That was a highlight of this year. Was the amount of
Sex.
I just love the fact that
in the office.
innuendo. That's what I was going to say. Faux pas, but I was like,
But
innuendo.
also like the amount of honest chat we had about everything. Like,
Yeah.
and,
It
you
got
know,
a little too honest.
I know
let's
sometimes
be-
it did.
We've
But-
had people
Yeah.
from other offices and departments walk past the good game area.
Or
while
people
they were pretty-
shutting their doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that a
Oh
lot.
no, let's
yeah.
not bring
There
up
have
that
been-
conversation.
There have been some candid discussions, so but, that's a good thing.
I've
about
learned
I know a
some
lot
things.
more about hingers than I ever thought I would.
it. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, like
I've missed
shooting
those
his section
conversations.
was
No,
like
you didn't miss anything.
He's sex.
He's an open and
Sex.
he's an open and honest man, Michael.
Yeah,
Which is nice.
It
I
is
love the
lovely.
fact that I know more about kind of our office's consumption of porn after the episode.
and the interesting thing is, it's never been a mystery with Barjo, but but
Yeah,
now we
nothing
know
is a
that
mystery.
Now it's
nothing's a
all-
mystery with Barjo.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so that's pretty much why the last episode was the way it was.
Yeah,
What about the machine, the computer? Where did that come from?
That was from the tape library.
Yep.
It is actually an audio machine that plays like film audio tape thingies, spools.
So did you and Sam just go to the audio library and
Yeah.
just grab it?
No, we asked.
We were like, "Do you have anything?
Do you
that
have
we
a
can
big
use for this shoot?"
machine?
And they're like, "Yeah, we have these." And we're like, "That's perfect."
And did
And-
Sam just carry it into the studio?
We wheeled it. It had wheels.
We pushed it.
Did it actually catch on fire while you were shooting?
No, that was all done in special effects.
the magic of
after.
television.
Ah,
Post production.
Oh,
acting.
Your personal game of the year. So off the back of that chat, what's your
Dodo's
personal?
I can't commit. I'm not going to
6.86.
commit.
Sam.
Rocket League. A close second was Batman: Arkham Knight.
Mm.
Again, I just can't commit. Everything I played,
You're a
like
good addition to this podcast, Pete.
I had this discussion all week because we did Nick's top 5 games, and I said to him, "You have to decide. You have to give a definitive top, like 1. I don't care how many you give." He ended up choosing to go with 5. Haven't played a lot of games this year. I've just been making
that
Nick
sort of year, hasn't
play
it?
so
Yeah.
many games,
Yeah.
and like when you watch someone play the first hour of every freaking game,
Yeah.
it's hard to really connect to it. Like I
Yeah.
didn't pick up a lot of games just because I didn't want to play through that first hour again.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I agree. I think with Pocket this year, I watched Nick play so many games that
Yeah.
I've just gone, I don't really need to play those games anymore.
We just
I've
all
watched
live
someone.
vicariously.
I know,
through it
right?
now.
Yes, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's we've often wondered at sort of the Let's Play videos, why are they so popular and why do so many people love watching them? And it's often because there's a relatability to the person that's playing them. And in this case, this year having Pocket, having Nick in the office and as a friend of now, it was someone that we could watch.
We're friends, right? A friend of now.
Sorry, just Lynn gestured me towards the microphone so I could say, Nick and I are friends. No, having someone that we could relate to for the first time, we've suddenly, I think, found those Let's Plays a lot more enjoyable to watch. And that's why you would catch the whole office watching Pocket every afternoon to see what had been going on in that room. And as you said, vicariously enjoying games that way.
I watch it because I need to make the screams that I heard earlier in that day make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of screaming.
Yeah.
All right, well, Pete can't make up his mind. I'm just going to see if the chorus follows my decision when I say Splatoon.
I knew you were
Splatoon.
gonna.
I didn't even say it. I was about to say it. Splatoon. Splatoon was surprising, and I've gone back and played it at strange intervals, and it continues to be a fun game. So there you go.
I agree.
Right.
No, it was really fun.
Dota,
It was really
Dota.
Dota is always number one in my life. If I could marry it, I would strongly consider it. But
So not yes, you would make them wait.
yeah, well,
You'd think about
you
it.
got to work for it.
Yeah.
They gotta propose first.
I'm not proposing to Dota. I need to know that it loves me. I know I love it, but other than that, I would probably say the obvious one for me would be Fallout 4 because it just totally sucked me in, and I spent hours in it, and I'm still going. But one that I do want to mention was a game that no one is going to care about, but it was a lovely little game called Lumini.
Oh, no one cares about
It was
Lumini, right?
really lovely.
Lumini is your Splatoon.
I know. No, I've mentioned it once.
Everybody's got their own split.
This is the second time I've heard you mention it.
Yeah. So I've mentioned it once, and this is the second time.
Disgraceful.
You didn't play it. Peter.
Never talk
You
about
didn't
it
play
again.
it. You didn't play it.
Oh,
It was,
sorry, go on.
It was just a little bit.
I watched your
like,
review, it was lovely.
It was a little bit like Journey, and it was very simple in its gameplay and stuff like that, and it was fun enough in its gameplay. But it's just the kind of game that they perfectly mix the environments with the soundtrack to just make you feel things, just to make you feel wonder and to make you feel scared and to make you feel joyous, and that's just really beautiful. That's nice.
Do you know another game that did that?
Splatoon.
Or in the one forest.
Get stuffed, all of you.
Splatoon.
I will say, like, that was another one. Ori and the Blind Forest. Watching it appear on the Christmas special, and I think Nick's top 5. Hearing the music and remembering that experience.
Yeah,
I haven't
that's
gone back to
true.
replay it, but that is a game that brought back a lot of very strong emotions.
Okay.
Thinking that was great.
So I would say I'm really shit at platformers. So Lumini was like Ori and the Blind Forest, except you didn't actually have to platform, and maybe that's why I liked it.
Flying
Because
things,
I tried to play Ori and the Blind Forest, and I got somewhere to like almost the end point of the first map.
Yeah.
I think I just have less patience with gaming at the moment. Like if I know I'm like shit at a certain game, I'm not gonna go through with it. I'm not gonna like put in 10 hours
Dark
to
Souls,
make
though.
myself. No, I'm never gonna play Dark Souls. I think
Sorry.
I think I loaded up, Rainbow Six Siege, was it? Siege. And I tried playing through the tutorials, and I was rubbish. I was really, really bad, and that was it. No more.
So that's your game of the year?
Yeah. I actually put in about 10 hours into Batman, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I think that was the only other game I played all year because I was just so busy with everything else, and I was busy watching Nick Boy play.
Yeah.
So,
True.
Ben?
I'm going to go one a little bit left of center, and I squeezed it into the final episode. Everybody's gone to the Rapture. I
good
play
choice.
games like, obviously for gameplay and for characterization and for graphics and all the rest of it, but first and foremost, it's got to have a good story, and it is the best story I've played this year.
I really want to play that, so
Yeah.
no spoilers.
And I know, Barge and I spoke about it a lot in studio when we did the review. He did not like it one bit. And for all the reasons he didn't like it are the reasons I did like it.
Yeah.
It is not technically, if you really want to be honest about it, a game.
Yeah.
It is an experience.
Yeah.
But the experience I had with it was very unique and I loved it.
Yeah.
Speaking of experiences, though, beginner's guide.
Yeah, for me, like, I was thinking about it after I said I didn't have a game of the year, but I feel like the beginner's guide is the only experience I will still be thinking about years from now. Like, I'm not going to be thinking about Fallout 4
Yeah, that's true.
in 2 years' time. Like,
Yeah.
it was just
There'll
another...
be a Fallout 5 by then.
Exactly. There'll be something that will come along to replace it. But I don't think there will be, until Davey Reedon's new game, there won't be another experience like that. And I will remember that experience for a long time, I think.
I would say that, like, as someone who was a massive fan of the Stanley Parable, I was really excited to play the Beginner's Journey as well. Beginner's Guide, sorry. And
Don't even know the name.
sorry.
It's been a long year, Rad.
But what was interesting is when I finished that game, I was exhausted mentally. I was like, this was really tiring. And that's put a slight negative spin on that for me. Like, I really enjoyed it, but I was like, I'm not going to play that again. I'm not going to go through all of those emotions again.
Yeah.
So I was incredibly impressed when I played, you'll have to help me with the name, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, no one can help
No
me
one
with this
knows, but
name.
the creator's
It's like
name-
Dr. Langskov, the tiger, and the incredibly something
Yeah.
gem.
Tension.
Which is created by another guy
That is William Pugh.
who was a co-creator on the Stanley Parable.
Yeah.
And for anyone who hasn't played that game, it's basically a 15-minute comedy behind the scenes of a game. It plays to a lot of the same beats as something like the Beginner's Guide, but it's very humorous. It's very quick, and
I would say that's a lot more Stanley Parable than Beginner's Guide. Like,
Yeah.
Beginner's Guide wasn't about you having a good time. It was like
No.
It was about you feeling things, and you felt things at the end of it. And
Yeah.
I can understand why you came out of it feeling down, but I don't need things to make me feel good to
Oh, no.
remember them fondly.
All that I meant is that genre, that new sort of genre of these amazing introspective walk 'em ups, I was like, I don't know if I want to play another one again after this one and after.
So you want to savor that experience.
Yeah.
You want to give it time.
And I thought, I don't think I want to play another one of these games that's a very clever, subversive, tricky mind melt, and then I played this this
Dr.
tiger-
Lanskov, the tiger, and the something emerald.
Mansion.
which is free and is 15
There's no
minutes
mansion
long.
in it.
Isn't it?
It's in a map. Which, is a free 15-minute absolute delight, and it refreshed my whole outlook on these types of games again. I thought, you know what, now I could play another long, depressing, meaningful, emotional
Okay, we're
one.
all talking about how much we love watching Nick Boy play games. What is your favorite game that Nick Boy has played?
Discourse.
That is your favorite.
Yeah, Discord.
Discord.
Yeah,
Discord
Discord.
is great.
I'd second that. Yeah.
Yeah, he had so much fun with that. It definitely it was like only like the second week or the first week of having Nick on the show that we picked up that first episode, and he just made it his own. And from that point, it was obvious that was kind of the way that these Let's Play kind of videos had to go. Like, it had to be him kind of like taking charge of a game rather than just experiencing a game. And yeah, from that point forward, when the opportunity arose, there was like, he did that. Super fun discourse.
And it's surprising, you've only really done that with Discourse and what's the murder mystery?
Until Dawn.
Until Dawn. And
Yeah.
I think, obviously you've played your strengths and not done every single episode as a sort of continuation or a series following one game. But it's something I love, and I'd love to see more of it next year because
There will definitely be more of that.
there
next
was
year.
the text, the IM game. What was that one? Emily is
Yeah,
Away.
we finished Emily is Away as
That
well.
was fantastic as well,
Yeah.
and I thought that was fun to see, to
great.
return to it and to actually have a couple of eps dedicated
We
to one
couldn't
game.
show any more Honey Pop without
Which
destroying the classification board.
Oh but man, that was hilarious.
That was a fun episode.
Watching him go through that sort of transformation of going, I'm gonna hate this game,
Yeah.
followed by how much you could watch him physically start to enjoy it. That didn't sound right.
Stick shift.
Stick shift.
That's why we only shoot above the waist.
Yeah, no, I think
There's too much excitement going on.
I don't think I would play it, but watching him play Honey Pop, I really enjoyed that because it was such an honest kind of look at how he reacted to the game. You know what I mean? It was such an honest look at like, look, I intellectually have some issues with games like this, but at the same time that doesn't mean that it's not fun, and you can enjoy something whilst recognizing its problematic elements.
Yeah.
And just because something's problematic doesn't mean you have to hate it, but you should probably recognize that. And I thought that was really nice. I liked his analysis of it at the end, and yeah, it was just funny watching him get titillated, as it were.
I threw the word to him. Titillate.
And then he's
That's the word
like,
you're
"That's the
after."
only word that I've got,
Yeah,
so I'm just
yeah.
gonna run with it."
What was the bomb game again?
Keep talking and nobody explodes.
Yeah.
We use that one a lot.
I enjoyed that very much. Every time it came up, it was good fun watching that.
Gus is the worst at that.
It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, so he's definitely not diffusing any more
pretty
bombs.
He's
Would you want to watch two people be incredibly clinical and good at that game? Like,
Yes.
for a
Yes.
little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I like efficiency.
All right, I won't do it again.
No more bomb
Shut
defusing.
down.
They
All
have
right.
spoken.
I want to move on. This is a question from Jasmine Scott. What was your favorite thing about making GG and its other shows this year? And how many hours do you sink into an episode each week? So I'm going to throw this open a little bit more. So not just the favorite thing about making GG, but the favorite thing that you made for GG and its other shows. Who's first?
I'm really proud of the Halloween special that we did on Spawn Point. If you haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube. I made quite a few props for that, and also the set dressing and things like that. It was such a big job, but I think it's the best looking special that we have ever done. And again, it almost killed us, but it looked fantastic. And at the end of the day, if it looks good, that's what you want.
So, dear viewers, if you don't know, Rad actually makes a lot of the props for Good Game Spawn Point. And the tombstone that you see for maybe
Mausoleum,
like
yeah.
3 seconds at the start of the Good Game Spawn Point Halloween special.
Yeah.
What, you started that a month before we started shooting?
I like to get stuff started early because stuff always comes up and you think you're going to have time, but then you don't. So yeah, I started it like a month in advance. And I based it off of the mausoleum that Zero lives in from Nightmare Before Christmas. So if you actually go look it up, it's like almost an exact remake.
I swear, every time I looked at you from my desk, you were working on that mausoleum. Like for a month. It was just cardboard and grey paint.
Yes.
And-
Well, it was always there, but I wasn't always working on
Yeah.
it.
This is the dedication of the people on the team,
Yeah.
dear listeners. This is how dedicated we
And,
are.
And
like,
things have
cutting
changed a lot in the
shingles.
last like 4 or 5 years. Because when I was production coordinator, like on both,
Pete didn't give a
'cause
shit.
back in the day, like I was the sole coordinator across Good Game and Spawn Point. Spawn Point was shorter then, and I had to make a Darren costume for Hex, and it is actually just a cardboard box with silver wrapping paper wrapped around it. And I made a helmet for her out of a meat tray.
And you nailed it.
Left the meeting.
This is why you got pushed up to producer and
It
we
was
got
either-
someone new.
It was, we got to fire him or we got to promote him.
It's one or the other.
I'm glad they went the other way.
I really enjoyed the name the game segment things we put on like in the outros for Good Game. It was Hacker Hex and what was the other one?
This year we did a
the-
few. We did
Detective one?
we did
We
Hacker
True
Hex.
Detective?
Gus is
Yeah.
back.
We did
right.
Hacker
Yeah.
Hex. Then there was the horror one with Barjo and the doll.
Called
Creepy
like
doll.
the
Then there
Happening,
was
I think we called
yeah.
it. Yeah.
True
There was
Detective.
Then there was the True Detective. and I
DIC.
think we
DIC.
left it at that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, those were good fun.
that was
Will
really
we be
fun.
seeing more of
Downton
them
Abbey
year?
next year, please.
Yes, I have put it out to our listeners via Twitter and all the rest of it, and most people have said yes. So
Which
that's
is
all I
overwhelming
need.
if you get something positive from feedback. On these,
You'll just
right?
have 2 people saying no,
Yeah,
please
no,
no.
we
Like
totally
we don't want to see this. What is this?
What is this? So yeah, that is going to be making a comeback next year.
But what about you, Ben? Like, what was?
I'd agree with you, Sammy. Like, I was very proud of, as I said before, the sex special. The war special was this year as well, wasn't it, Gus? Did
Yeah.
you work on that? Yeah. It was fun doing the Star Wars special. Obviously, we're all fans, so, we're all fanning out about doing a Star Wars special. But yeah, making those Name the Games with Barger and Hex, I'm sure you can probably tell that the 3 of us make it up as we go. And, I just love working with those guys in, little corners that we find of the ABC, and Barger always comes up with something crazy, and Steph always is concerned about continuity and how does this relate to the last episode.
She wants to know her motivation.
She really
right?
does, which is
What's
great,
my motivation, Ben?
and Barjo just wants to,
Pull a face.
I'll give all my lines to Hex so I can just stand here and pretend to throw up. So it's a lot of fun.
Me also.
Yeah, that's right.
I think
Gus.
another thing that was huge this year was our live show that we did at the Enmore Theatre.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, and I will put my hand up and say I was one of the biggest skeptics leading into that of how much work that was creating for the office and how much pressure that was putting on a lot of us here to continue to make the TV show and to produce a live show where we did both one for Spawn Point and for Big Show as well. Good Game. And in the same day, it was to be performed at 3 o'clock or something for Spawny, and then the afternoon. And with, we built video assets and we shot things for it, and we had props and guests and all this kind of stuff. And it really took its toll. But at the same time, I would do it all again because coming out on stage and the response we had from fans and the grace of God, by the grace of God, everything went right on the night. And a lot of
Tripod were
things.
great.
We had Tripod as well, who
Yeah.
were fantastic as our little band. And we had a few technical hiccups that just, again, worked out just as the night went ahead. And, that's the kind of stuff where you get a response from the audience. And as someone up on stage, I would definitely do that again. But don't tell our boss that.
I think making the video assets for that, you're right, Gus, they were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that was sort of, I wouldn't say late in the piece, but I had that. I came in, I said, we've got to give the Big Show a theme.
Yeah, that's
which was
right.
the apocalypse. And suddenly I had grand plans for it, which absorbed resources from the entire...
That's
it
probably
really
the pressure
did.
that was
Bags
put
of
on.
sand.
Yeah. Bags of
sand.
sand, I said.
Some of the
That's right.
finest green screening and
Yes, that's true.
special effects that I probably spent way too long on. There's a reason there's a lull of field stories in the middle of the year because we just wanted to get that up and running, and hopefully some people will get to see it in the future. But we'll we did film it all, and we'll see what we can do with that.
Don't say that because then that's almost like
Yeah,
saying you have
don't.
to
Let's not
promise
make
it.
promises,
Yeah,
Gus.
That wasn't a promise.
Gus has no power. Just so you know, Gus has no power.
But what people don't understand is that we aren't stage people.
No.
Like
No.
we make a television show.
And that's the interesting
And a
thing.
podcast.
Let's see how this
pans out, Peter.
But that's the thing. Like, ABC does a lot of live shows, like Bananas and Pajamas Live and Giggle and Hoot Live. But they have crack squad Navy SEAL trained teams that come in and do
who
live
actually
shows.
do stage shows for a living.
Stage shows, and we take it upon ourselves. And at the mere suggestion of, we might get another producer involved, we might get another director involved, it's like, no.
No, we're
This is
making
ours.
it.
Like,
yeah.
We're
people.
making it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, the fact that we are making live shows and we're a TV crew, like, we don't know what we're doing half the time, right?
No.
Like, we just basically fly by the seat of our
it's
pants.
not
It's the
just
good
that,
game
it's
motto.
making it and also making all the content that we already make, which is already a full-time job for all of us. And we're like, let's just make a show as well.
How hard can it be?
It'd be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. We made it. We're alive.
I did
It's all
theatre
good.
in uni.
Yeah. We all watch theatre.
That's right.
Yeah, how hard
Yeah.
could it be? Kate
been
Blanchett,
to
Andrew
SRC,
Upton.
Lynn? Yeah.
How hard could it be? Let's put on King Lear next year, guys.
Oh, apparently, this is a complete aside. Apparently, the King Lear that's going on with Sydney Theatre Company at the moment, a lot of Wang.
A lot.
A lot of Wang. Like, I have been
So like
told...
Jeffrey Rush's way?
No,
No.
not Jeffrey
No.
Rush's Wang.
Alright.
But I have been told that the Wang is almost like its own character.
Like, is there multiple Wangs or one really
I
big
can
Wang?
confirm.
The
When you
Wang
say a
has
lot of Wang.
motivation.
Yeah.
No, I can confirm that there is a gentleman who went to my school near below me who's actually acting in it, and a friend went and saw it, and he's like, "Oh, I recognise that guy from. Oh, he's got his wang out."
So he's
I was
the
about to
Wang
say
star.
I recognise that Wang. I was going to say, what's
No, he
It's like
recognised the guy.
a
from
very
school.
distinctive mole on his Wang.
He recognised the guy from school and went, "That's fantastic. I should go and talk to him afterwards and say
No.
congratulations." And he's taking his
And
pants
shake
off
his
and, "Oh,
wang."
it's There's
Yes.
Shake a Wang.
Who's
No, it's break a
left?
leg.
Peter.
Yes.
Do you remember anything?
Not really.
Your favorite
Not
scene?
really. It was fun doing all those guerrilla shoots though, like going out without a crew. Like,
Can you please confirm for the listeners what a gorilla shoot is?
Yeah, I was about
that
to
it
say,
is
I
not
do
going out
not
hunting
remember any
gorillas.
monkeys in Pocket this year.
oh, I won't talk about that then,
Oh, good ep though.
because that's what that was. Going out with camera gear and lights and all the audio gear and stuff, and it was just like John, Nick, and myself running around EB Games Expo or
PAX live show.
the PAX. What?
The live show you did for the Pocket show.
Yeah,
Remember that live show that you did for
I don't remember
PAX?
that.
Oh, okay.
What's your name?
Yeah, and we did the same thing at the expo. But yes, we also did that live thing. And even running around when you guys were shooting video assets for the live show,
Yeah,
when we like
that was fun.
jumped in the back of that, that was fun. They made for fun episodes, and it was just like it was fun doing it while it was really like stressful doing it all technical wise, doing it all myself. It was cool that it came together, and I was surprised that it actually did.
At
So
any
that's fun.
point in time, because I mean, you almost single-handedly, manhandled Pocket into what it is now.
Yeah.
At any point in time, did you go, "Oh man, this is not going to work"? Like,
Yes.
how the hell are we
Yes,
going to get
yes,
this episode
yes,
out by
yes.
3 p.m. today?
Yeah, a lot of really, really, really stressful moments. But nothing went catastrophically wrong all year, and I don't think we missed a deadline by more than an hour throughout the year. You know, if an episode was due at 3:30, maybe one was delivered at 4:30, and like that's a testament to how fast John is. He's a weapon
John's a
as
machine.
an editor, and how good Nick is at getting the lines out. You know, we just got it done. The fear was there constantly, but the execution just worked every time. Just
Let's hope it continues next year,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I really enjoyed all the Spawn Point specials we made during the year.
Yes.
Like incredible amount of Spawn Point specials and homages that we
I only
paid.
remember like 3.
I think we did Space. That was our Kubrick one.
Wait.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
we went
Space
all
was
like
good.
2001: The Space
one was
Odyssey
actually really good,
/Apollo
yeah.
13 with it. And then obviously Jurassic Park, which is
That one was also
freaking
really good.
amazing.
That was great.
That was
You
a
made
lot
the
of
best
fun.
car ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made this amazing cardboard replica of the Jurassic Park car, like the
Jeep.
tour
The
car.
Jeep,
Yeah, the
yeah,
Jeep.
Yeah.
And we hung it from the back of the set. You cannot see it. You cannot. We put so many like ferns and stuff on set. You can't see
I
it.
think I
And-
told you, right? I went rad. Like, just put
But
some paint on it.
you know
Like, we're
me,
not gonna
like,
see it in the background.
I can't not do things as best as I can do it.
And yet my box wrapped in silver wrapping paper, center frame, baby.
Oh, come on.
You gotta learn from this guy.
I painted a Spawny Park logo on that thing.
I know, it was very
Like,
impressive. It was actually
it's
Did you
broken
paint that
down.
one? Or was that a print?
No, that's a print.
For everyone who's listening, I'm pointing at the wall, and there's a Spawny Park logo up on the wall.
So Gus
and it was
actually
behind the
designed
shot
that.
in most episodes of Pocket this year, like in the intro
Yeah.
and in the news. It was just a nice bit of back
Yeah.
dressing.
So Gus designed that, and I mimicked it and put it, like, drew it onto the car. You can't see it at all.
And you
It's
own
there.
it.
But see,
But we know
this,
it's
this is part of the
copyright.
No, I
for that.
don't.
Okay.
this is part
No,
of the
actually, I
DVD
own
commentary, right?
Paramount.
Like now, people will know that
That's
car is
true.
in the background, and
That's
they're gonna go
true.
back and watch,
And you'll
the
see,
Spawny
like,
Park app.
It blurry in the background, hidden behind trees, and you'll be like,
Yeah.
ah.
And they'll be like, "Rad made that. She she
Yeah,
made that
they
car."
don't care.
My other favorite special was obviously our Star Wars special that we put together. The lightsaber fight between Goose and Darren is honestly one of the one of my most favorite scenes that I've ever directed. And I think we literally shot that in about 25 minutes.
Oh, less.
It was at
yeah.
the end of the day, and we were running out of time. The crew had to wrap. We couldn't pay overtime, and it was literally point the camera. Let's shoot this. How are we going to shoot? I don't know. Just,
What I think was great is that also the costume that I'm wearing is a series of bathrobes, which is fine. That's how people dress up as Jedis, but it was a series of them. So I'm wearing a white long sleeve t-shirt, then I'm wearing a very warm, very snuggly white bathrobe, then I was wearing a giant big brown one to look a bit Obi-Wan, and within 5 minutes of even just moving actively, I was dripping with sweat, and then the camera crew was setting up and we're doing all this, and I'm looking at Lynn sort of making eyes going, I'm dying here, and you're like, just do another spin. I was like, I can't, I'm really, really struggling here. So
just
that
do
was...
it for the kids, Goose.
But you know what, yeah,
That's
when
what
you
it
yelled
is.
action and you're holding a lightsaber at a robot, something just takes you over and you become that character.
Suddenly you're in a Star Wars picture. My other favorite thing that I made this year, and this is quite personal for me at this roundtable is the E3 special.
Yes.
Of course.
Which I was incredibly proud of. It was the first hour special that we came back with from E3. Incredibly difficult to put together, but I was really happy that I was given the freedom to go over to LA and just basically come back with the episode I wanted to make and put all the influences that, of all the TV shows, like, for example, Chef's Table, Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations and Parts Unknown, into it, and actually come back with a story that's quite different to what we've told previously. We still had the interviews from all the developers and we had the hands-on with Hex and all that, but I really loved the Devolver segment within it, and also
The Aussie chat with all the
the Aussie chat, and I think
fantastic.
we
Group day.
tried to do that. I think maybe in years earlier, but maybe
Yeah,
didn't get
we
around
did,
to
yeah.
it. And so I was really happy to kind of get all those peripheral stories around E3 and have kind of people see this event as something other than just interviews with developers and gameplay.
And
as
it's
well.
so beautiful to see as well, because one disadvantage that we have as a TV show is a lot of people just watch the press conferences as they
Yeah.
happen or the day after they happen. A lot of people are getting from, web outlets videos of that day. And we did a little bit of that this year, which was awesome. We
We
managed
did a lot of that this year.
Yeah.
Our coverage of E3 this year was incredible.
Yeah.
Like getting just the video doc back from
and we
from
actually just
Hex
shot
every
that.
afternoon.
We shot that on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say iPhone. Phone.
on the unbranded smartphone.
On the unbranded smartphone
We'll
that we
take
used.
6 Apple Watches, please, if you're listening.
But one beautiful thing is, you put together this episode that was Good Game's experience of E3 and Hex's experience of E3, and that is special and that's unique and that's something that you can't get from another outlet. Like, you can watch the press conferences and that is the press conference, but to see a host that you've watched for many years and connected with experience the show floor and things like that, that's what makes the episode
I think that's the luxury we have, is because we have this time frame. We've got an hour to dedicate this, but also in this day and age where news is always on the fly. You've got social media, you've got Twitter, Facebook. People are basically watching live streamed events, and you have access to everything. Then what do you do as a TV show?
Yeah, you
what
craft
else can you
something.
say? Like, what else can you bring back that is different to what people can just watch on YouTube? And I think that is something that we struggle with and also think about a lot on the team,
Yeah.
is how do we create a TV show that is relevant, that is entertaining in this day and age where people are just getting all the news and everything from everywhere.
We make Pocket and we make podcasts.
We do.
But that's, such a huge conversation, particularly this year. And I'm excited that next year I think we're going to start to address some of that. I think very excited to put forward a vision to our long-term fan base and, new fans as well, of what Good Game might be moving forward. So you're absolutely right, Lynn. It's, how do you kind of ride that balance? You know what I mean? One way is to do what we're doing now, which is to have lots of content. But I think, the format that we play with in television is changing and we need to change with it.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that's been really lovely is that within the office, we never really turn to each other and say, we'll do that again, or we'll do the same thing again.
No,
It's
true.
something that is...
It's also to our detriment, Gus.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
It does
I was
sometimes
gonna
kill us.
get to
Yeah.
that. It's it also creates the biggest headaches, but
Yeah.
we never turn around and say, right, how are we going to cover this story? And as you said, Lynn, like the E3 special this year was amazing, and which is
Thank you,
fantastic.
Gus.
But doesn't that leave us now? What are we going to do next year?
Well,
That's right.
top
It's,
the
it's,
thing,
it's
like-
Ben's responsibility
that.
now.
That's right. I mean, last year when I went with Barjo, I tried to, and I just took sort of one step forward. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, well, let's give people a sense of what it's actually like to be there and split it up over days. And so I split it up over days and even had those little bits just, right, so it's the end of day one and this is how I feel. And now it's the start of day two. I'm excited because you took it to a whole new level. And then, yeah, you're absolutely right, Gus. Next year, come,
We're going to go Michael
E3,
Bay with it.
Yeah, I've got to get 8 cameras.
Let's go JJ.
Go JJ.
but yeah, you're right. It is to our detriment, but at the same time, it creates this environment where everyone puts their heads together to come up with
Yeah.
contributions on how we can do something different. Because you're right. How can we put a fresh spin on it? Because we don't like doing the same thing twice, and that will be the death of us for sure.
But that's also what I think elevates Good Game. And if you watch Good Game now
Yeah.
compared to 9 years ago,
Oh.
I challenge any of our viewers to go back to the first season of Good Game back in 2006.
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
and watch those episodes and then compare it to what the show is right now.
Yeah.
And like it's a whole new world. It
Yeah.
is very, very different. And that is testament to kind of how much this team has grown. And how much we've grown in terms of our, television craft.
Yeah.
It's
And-
exciting as well that our audience has grown with us. I
Yes,
think.
absolutely.
There's so many people that, we always get comments of people saying, "Oh, I've been watching the show since, 2008 or whatever." And it's just so lovely to see that they are continuing to enjoy the changes that we make to our content. I think that's nice.
Great.
Group hug, guys.
Oh,
hug,
no,
oh.
you done good.
On that note.
Our viewers are like puking right now.
Yeah, they're like, guys, come on.
What is the hardest thing that you had to do this year on Good Game? We've all kind of set our piece on our favorite things, but what's the hardest thing?
The hardest thing for me, I'll just quickly say this, and this is just while we're all still throwing up, was moving into the Pocket Studio and working with John and Nick and Michael this year has been a pleasure, but it's such a vocal and communal team here, and I missed out on a lot of that I'm only like part through one door.
You should have just
but I
cut a
missed out on all of
porthole
it.
in the studio.
I just
know,
want
but
to
it's just
point
like
out,
constantly making stuff and
we invite you to lunch all the time.
yeah,
We invite
okay.
you to coffee all
How
the
about
time.
you have like
choose
2 deadlines a day,
not-
rad?
So it's my fault when we invite you out. You're like,
No, I
don't
love
know
that.
what-
I
yeah,
Everyone
appreciate
hug-
that.
Everyone hug again.
Let's get back to vomiting and hugging each other.
No.
No, but it is very tough when you've got daily deadlines to deal with and the rest of us have weekly deadlines. And
Yeah.
that is, two kind of very different schedules to work with as well.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Look, it sounds like a cop out to say the live show again because it was my favorite thing, but it was also the
It's your
most
favorite and the worst.
and the most exhausting thing. Another one would be that people in the Good Game office like to lend their skills to other areas all the time, and we'd like to diversify and all that sort of stuff. But it can sometimes be at the cost of different of what you work on predominantly. And for me, it was field stories this year.
Sure.
We like to all do a lot around the office, and in this case, it did take a toll, and we didn't get as many field stories out as we'd like, and that is something we're going to hopefully address next year. And it's not for a lack of trying; it's just sometimes just resources and time, and finding those stories out there. But I think near the end of this year, especially, we went and did a story on VR in Melbourne, and it was a lot more of just experiencing something, which we don't do because we often try to find something really meaty in the story, and we forget that sometimes it is nice to just go and experience something out there that does exist and that you can make audience members aware of, and that's part of our job as well. So hopefully we'll be doing more of that next year and filling out more field stories. And because they are fun to break up the episode, it's everyone loves reviews, but it can be nice to get out of the studio. So hopefully more of that. That was a tough thing to do this year.
I remember there was one point at the year when I was working.
Tell us, Rad. Tell us your tale.
No, I was working late by myself and I cried. Because and I can't fully remember all of the situation around it. I think it was a combination of I think we had filmed a special recently, and we'd probably also filmed on the Thursday, so it was like an extra long shooting week, and then there were last minute vision changes to the episode after I'd already done all the online stuff or something like that. It was like a combination of a couple things.
I remember that as well, yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up in the office. I had come in at like 8 a.m. that day to catch up because I knew that I was going to lose time and be behind. And then last minute vision changes meant that I was in the office till like 9 p.m. or something that night, and I cried by myself in the office. That was the worst.
We need to get you like a hug
Again,
there or something.
dedication, folks.
Yeah.
But I got it done.
This
I
is
got
how
it done,
dedicated
so-
we are. Yeah, we just
And you're
get
not dead.
the shit done.
I'm not dead, still breathing. So yeah, but that one was really hard. And there's been a couple moments, throughout the year where I think it's easy to look at what we create and the job and everything and go, that's amazing. You guys must have so much fun. And we do. We get along with each other so well, and it is such a pleasure to work with everyone here. But there are definitely moments where shit just hits the fan, and
Yeah, that's
and
true.
it can be really awful.
It can be hectic.
And just to add, it can be hard to switch it off as well because we love what we do and we love the subject matter of what we do. Be it, as a mix of obviously gaming, but as we talked about at the start of the podcast, film and TV are things that we love to discuss and chat about. So they take a big influence on what we make, and so we have a passion for it. And you suddenly realize if that gets a little too overwhelming, and you realize you're here stupidly late, or you've been working long hours, and you think it's hard to go home and play games to switch off or something because that's all that you're getting non-stop. So I definitely think we've got to. That's a management thing for us, and we've got to work on that. But at the same time,
So you're basically saying we have no lives.
yeah, we're making a podcast on the last day of work about the show we work on.
Yeah,
Lynn.
and it's past 5 p.m. already.
Yeah, we should
It's
go
like we're just
home,
still
but we're
hanging
not.
out.
We're here.
Come on, we're having fun, guys.
We are having fun.
Sam?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the live show as well.
And also your abs.
Wait,
Those
this is
squats, mate. Those
the
squats.
hardest bit, right? Okay.
Yeah, the live show, it really pushes us, especially me and Rad, because there's a lot of trickling down from the producer side of things,
Yeah.
which falls on me
Not
and
to
Rad to kind of
explain.
organize and sort out and prepare and organize. And
It's so funny with the live show. It's like it's really easy for someone to go, I'd really love a giant boulder that we can throw. It's gonna be in one scene for like 30 seconds and that's it. But I would just love a giant boulder to throw. And then you have to figure out how the hell you're gonna make that work because you can't make it really, and it's something that you have to transport and it can't cost too much. And so we ended up getting an exercise ball, but it's just little it's little things
which
like
worked
that.
fine.
Yeah, which worked fine. It did what it needed to do, but it's little things like that. It's like it's very easy for someone to be like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that sounds great. Wait a second.
and like you said earlier, Rad, like it's on top of everything else we're doing throughout the week.
Yeah, that's the issue. That's the issue
Yeah.
because that's what the co-ed role is throughout the year, right? Like there's heaps of admin stuff, but it is also about just facilitating what the producers need, right? Like the producers are throwing the ideas down and it's like, let's make this happen. But it's just a really intense period of that. Like on top of your regular workload, it's like it's all distilled into this one big event and like there's more to do and less time to do it. And yeah, it can really just like build up.
And then once you're done, you just stop and you're like, I don't remember how to do my normal job. I've been so stressed out.
Yeah.
Ben?
Look, the live show definitely pushed all of us, and you and I, Lynn, we do a lot of single camera directing. This was multicam directing, where you're sitting with a little panel with lots of buttons, and you're calling, standby 1, take 1, standby 4, take
Your
4.
technique was amazing, by the way, Ben. Like, we were just watching
next
you.
to
We're like,
him.
oh my God,
Ben
he's going.
It was
Ben
like
was running the
you just
vision
like this
switcher.
halo
Yeah.
started like
It's like, take
shining
1,
from behind
take
you.
3, take camera 5.
I'm camera 5. I'm gonna take you camera 5. You're live camera 5. I was sitting
was
next to him
beautiful.
running like the slideshow while he's
That's right,
doing the
yeah.
vision switcher.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It was a lot of fun.
incredible.
It was a lot of fun, but it's also quite stressful because there's no second takes or anything. But I kind of ride on the energy of the live show. I actually look forward to gearing up for it, and I appreciate everybody's hard work on it. But I actually had a freak out moment just before our war special this year. Just often with the show, you get a sense of things kind of falling into place, and that's a good field story, and that's a good review. And Hex wrote a really beautiful script, or Barjo did a really good job on that presenting. I think it was only a week and a half away from us putting the war special to air, and it just felt like in the final moments, things just started to fall apart. I went to Canberra. Some interviews didn't quite work out. There were other elements that just weren't really coming together. And I remember having a sleepless night thinking, I don't think we have this. And it was the first special we did after our mental health special. And I remember our mental health special did go really well. We had great talent. We had a really good field story, all that kind of stuff. And I just had this moment where I was like, I don't know if the war one's going to be as good. But that fear was good because it came in the next day, and I spoke to everybody. Was like, I don't think we've got this together. And, I just worked a bit harder and got it across the line in the final moments. But I remember that week was particularly stressful for some reason.
Well, we just put that on ourselves, right? We
We
just want to
do.
make things
We
like
do.
better all the time.
Exactly,
We need
that's
to fail
right,
more.
yeah.
That's the thing.
that's
I think my most difficult point was there are a couple, and more to do, I guess, with audience reactions than anything else. I think the women in gaming
read the
story.
comments.
I don't never read the comments, but I like reading the
I
comments.
know, I do.
I think the women in gaming story we did early on in this year, I think it was March sometime. Incredibly proud of that story,
Yeah,
and
great
I've met
story.
so many people who've. Gus and I went down to the arcade in Melbourne, which is kind of this indie incubator and I spoke to a lot of the people there, and they were like, "Oh man, the women in gaming story you guys did was so great. It gave us a lot of food for thought in terms of how kind of we're fostering, more female developers in the industry and the education side of it. But, like the initial vitriol that we got on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, it was kind of disheartening. It's like, we're trying to, I think we did a great job on that story in terms of getting the right voices and kind of the right points out there for people to start the discussion. I think the second point was the tripod special. And I like to joke that this year I win the award for making the episode with the most views, which was the E3 special. And I think that was the most viewed episode of Good Game of all time. Yeah. So, Ben, you need to best that next year. However, the tripod special was actually the lowest rating episode of the year, which is hard to take. And, there was a lot of negativity online during the ep and also after the ep of people going, "Oh, how could you do this? Like,
how could you do this?
Like, this isn't good game, this has nothing to do with games," and it had everything to do with games, by the way, if you actually watch the episode.
Good.
And that was hard to take because, we put a lot of energy into making that, and it was something I think special and very different to the show. And we always like to, push the envelope with Good Game. I think, everyone in the office push the line, as Barjo would say. We like doing new things, and we've got like 43 episodes in a year, right?
That's exactly right.
44.
And I think 44.
210. 220.
And I always, say to certain people, like, if you lose one episode, and especially during a time when there aren't great games coming out, it's a very, very quiet time in the year, and we always have, that lull of like 2 to 3 months in the middle of the year that we're not getting, great titles, is that we try and have some fun with the show. We try and take another place, and try and offer our viewers something new to ponder on. And even if you don't like it, we hope that you will give it a go.
Yeah.
But, reading so many comments where people are like, "Oh, I didn't see Budjo and Hex, I switched it off." It was like, oh man, I wish you just kind of gave it a go,
I think, it's very two-sided in the sense that we love the fact that our audience takes a lot of ownership over the show, being fans of it. And what's really lovely is when they use that for, to promote the show and how much they love it, and they might sell it to their friends or family and say, "This is a show I really enjoy and I have some sort of ownership. I feel that ownership over it." But what does get quite difficult, and as you said, reading those comments, is when they feel there's an entitlement that if we do something too different or too drastic or as too much of a departure from our usual setup, that we've done it directly to offend them or to upset them, and taking it that there was a level of personal.
Oh, there was definitely a level of personal. A lot of people took it very personally.
Yeah.
But then we can't help but take that personal as when that comes back as flares up as an attack back at the production side of because we, as you said, we work really hard on that. And so I think it's something that, we'd love the audience to have that level of ownership or to have that level of engagement with our show. But of course, that does mean that if there's something that they don't quite agree with, that they can be just as vocal back. And so that's a hard line to walk, and that's on both sides, I think, to just deal with, because it can be pretty disheartening, and it was in the office, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It
was a slump. There weren't any games, and we got we hadn't got a great response.
And to be honest, I don't think it was a perfect episode. I think we didn't have a lot of time to make it. We actually made that episode in amongst all the other episodes. It's like the live shows where we literally would spend a day here and a day there working on this special. But look, I think part of what I love about this team and the show is that we are able to include new things and discover new things. And Ben, I think you mentioned a little bit about what might be happening next year, and kind of really looking at the TV space and how the show fits within the gaming space, and as well as the TV space, and what we can do as a television show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards, guys.
I think that's a nice point to.
I think that's a nice point to end on. I mean, there are many questions, but we can work that out.
Did we go through any of those?
No, but half of them we actually answered in amongst our other discussions.
Do you want to speed read them? Or we'll try and get...
How many ABC pies does Hingers have his fingers in?
Is it
a total of 2?
Who was that from?
J, Good Game.
Who was that from?
That was from Tate Heiskanen.
Good name.
Good name.
Thanks,
Okay,
Tate. Moving on.
Next question.
Sam Tweed. How long until Nick Boy runs Good Game?
Probably another 6 to 8 months.
I thought he pretty much runs Pocket, right?
Yeah.
Ouch.
He would like to think
Pete's
so.
going to
He
disagree
would
with
totally
that.
like to think so.
Sith Cat. I think one of your fans?
Pocketeer.
She's a
Pocketeers?
good game
Sith
fan.
Cat? Either a Pocketeer first and Good Game second? Or...
No, I've been a fan of Good Game for a long
reading
time.
anymore.
Yeah, come on, let's go.
I'm just curious. Is it okay for me to have a powerful computer but lame monitor and keyboard? Rad.
It's okay, but you're only hurting yourself.
And your eyes.
And your fingers.
That's
Right.
yourself.
Okay.
My answer was perfect.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Open world versus crafted narrative preferences.
Craft a narrative.
Crafted narrative.
Crafted narrative.
Crafted
Dota.
narrative.
I'm going to say crafted narrative. Okay.
Uncharted.
Okay. Last question.
Yep.
I
Who
think
was
this
that
is
last
it.
one from?
That was from Daniel Weichman.
Good
Or
job, Daniel.
Weich-
Thanks, Daniel.
Weichman?
Good name.
Good name.
I'm gonna.
Just want to be friends with
I want to pronounce it in a German way, but
Questions from people. We
Weichman.
should know the name.
Weichmann.
There you go.
Weichmann.
Excellent.
I want to say Weichmann. Okay, so the last question is from Black Lagoon.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh, the creature from.
Is it calling me back?
What's it like to get new members in the team? Is it like The Bachelor and they get a rose at the end? Is it a Survivor challenge?
Well, funny you should mention.
So Ben
because
had
starting
this
next
idea.
year-
No.
So we are actually spoiler alert, we are actually getting a few new members on the team next year. But Ben had a great idea. I'm not sure if you listeners knew about this, but we had a call out for production assistant applications about 2 weeks ago. Maybe
Yeah,
I think they
2-3
closed
weeks ago.
last week. And Ben had an idea. Ben, explain your idea.
I basically do want to run it like a reality show, and basically, throw them into the pit
Yep.
with a Klingon-style weapon.
What kind of challenges would we set for them?
Well,
They
I think
RFTs?
Yeah, the challenges would need to be set by Sam and Rad because essentially that's the job that they're coming in to do. So
Yeah.
let's see them make an amazing tombstone.
Yeah, they have to
Rad.
do arts and crafts. They have to
Yeah.
lift some stuff.
They have to
Yes.
verse Rad in Dota and me in Guitar Hero.
Oh.
That's now you're
I
talking.
like
Shots
it.
Yeah.
fired.
Also,
No one will get hired.
they're allowed to have the co-ord Bible, but they need to deliver an episode of Good Game
With
Yeah,
no assistance.
with no
assistance
Other
except for the
than-
Bible.
Other than the Bible.
It's all in the Bible.
Explain what you have to do to deliver a Good Game episode, because I think
Oh,
not a
we
lot
don't
of
have,
people.
like, the time.
We don't
Okay, you,
have
you,
we don't
you
have
have
time.
you have 30 seconds.
Jesus.
You want to take it?
No.
Okay, so to deliver an episode, you basically get the tape, which should have the final vision and sound mix on it.
20 seconds.
You take that
It's still on tape, by the way, like actual tape.
actual tape.
In a box.
You take it upstairs. You ingest it so that you get a digital copy of that
That
file.
means you eat it.
You put it through a machine which digitizes it. You then clip up that file into different sections for the website and take the full file for YouTube. You have to drop that into particular folders so that it gets encoded for the website. You then take it downstairs and clip it up again for YouTube, put a tail on it.
Yep.
You then take the tape for a dub booking, which means that it gets dubbed to other tapes and DVDs. You
Yep.
then have to deliver those tapes and DVDs around the ABC. You also have to make sure that the episode gets transcribed, usually by a helpful production assistant. That transcription then goes onto the website. You then also have to...
So this is just the website and YouTube. This
Yeah.
is nothing else included with it. So it's not the pre-production, the shooting, the organizing of the crews and the wardrobe,
I'm
and
so glad we get a break.
shooting locations.
That
and-
noise you're hearing now is thousands of people withdrawing their application.
they've just caught up and went,
Unsubscribe.
no, I don't want to work on a Good Game. And also, so it's going to be a Survivor challenge, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And they have to cry about Star Wars on cue.
Oh wow.
I
Jeez,
can't
I
do
don't
that,
even think
though.
I could do that.
I don't
Nah,
cry.
Creed. Cry about Creed.
You just told a story about how.
Oh, but that was
I'm
like-
sure we can all cry about Star Wars on cue in like a little
Yeah, that's-
personal space.
I
you
could
know.
just think about
Like in the
"You're
pocket
an
room."
angel. That will make me cry. That'll make me
It's
cry.
working.
Like,
Gets
you're on the moon.
everywhere.
It's
Yeah.
everywhere.
Okay, on that note, goodbye, listeners. We may do this again next year. We
Let
may.
us know.
Yeah, let
You
us know.
want us to do it
Yeah,
next
let us
year.
know if you want to hear more podcasts from the Good Game team.
We would hopefully get different people on, like from the production
Yeah.
crew. We do have another...
Yes, I actually have a whole master plan about the podcast next year.
So it
Which
sounds
we
like
will
going ahead.
we will like answer all of your questions in
Joe can
various
also tell you his
podcasts.
grand plans for like fixing Australia,
Which are fantastic.
which are fantastic.
Will get us in trouble,
Yes.
no
No, it
doubt.
won't. No, do you know the plan? I'll tell you after.
It's another podcast.
Okay,
It's
okay.
another
tell me over
podcast.
Christmas.
Find out next time.
On that
All this
note,
and more.
on that note, goodbye.